Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 10. I hope you're doing all right. I'm not going to lie. It was a very long week. I was intending to get a ton of stuff done on our class and my other classes, and instead, all I could manage to do was doom scroll Twitter for 5 days. So I am behind. I apologize. I'm going to catch up on everything as quickly as possible, but I am behind. Um, uh, I want you not to worry. It's not going to affect your grade or anything like that. You are not behind. I'm just a little behind on comments. You're going to get those comments back. Everything's going to be fine. And everyone's grade will be fine. So I want everyone to breathe easy. Don't panic. Everything will be fine. So let's jump into this week. We are really starting our final big project. I want you to notice your reading is going to start cutting down. We're almost done with the textbook. So really everything now focuses on getting this final paper done, getting it through a lot of drafts. Remember, this final paper, I can give like a little extensions on the last thing that's due, but unlike all the other papers where you're going to be able to revise up until you get the grade you want, the last paper, we can't do that. So we want to be sure, just because of time, the semester ends. So we want to be sure that we're doing drafts and revisions beforehand, so that you're feeling really confident about it. So today's lecture is pretty much all about how to do that paper. Now, hopefully you have done a lot of this research already. You probably have not done enough yet. So you've please use what you found with the annotated bibliography. That's why we did it. But also know that you probably are going to have to add some to that. All right. So here is the very basic outline of the visual analysis essay. I am not going to give you any outline further than this. And the reason is because we've been talking for a semester about how to organize papers. It is now time for you to kind of organize it on your own. I'm just going to give you the super basic points. Just remember, when you're writing, as always, a paragraph is a single idea. So if you move to a new idea, you need a new paragraph. All right, so the basic outline of the visual analysis essay. It starts with an introduction, obviously. You're going to have a firm thesis. It's going to be specific and opinionated. That tells me the message your image is trying to convey. All right? Now, here's the tricky part. This type of paper does not care about your opinion. All right? It cares about the opinion of the image, which we should be able to kind of objectively determine. All right. So in other words, this entire paper, you're not trying to persuade me to, let's say you have a photograph about global warming and how terrible global warming is. You are not trying to tell me that global warming is bad. That's not the point of this paper. You are trying to tell me that the image and the elements within the image, all right, are trying to convey the idea that climate change is bad. So in other words, we're only talking about the opinion of the image, not your opinion. All right. So you're going to tell me the message the image is trying to convey, the theme of the image, the purpose. You're going to tell me the message will be an opinion about some topic: depression, famine, fast fashion, whatever. Right. Then a big chunk is going to be researching your topic. Now, this means that this is an unbiased, all right, research of this topic. That means you need to research multiple sides, not just one side. All right. So in other words, let's say that you're doing fast fashion. All right. You need to research both the pros and the cons of fast fashion. Let's say you're doing depression. Now, no one is really going to argue that depression is, a fun time or anything like that. But you might argue that some people see depression as a disease. Other people think depression is a mental state that you can kind of snap out of. So you're going to put, and again, these are not your opinions. You are just researching the facts. You're researching both sides. You are citing your research. So in other words, you're not just coming up and saying, here's what depression is. You're saying, according to blank, this is what depression is. You are citing your sources throughout this research section. This is a big section. I mean, if we're talking about a 8 to 10 page paper, then this section should be 3 to 4 pages. All right. And again, you're researching multiple sides. I don't want to say both sides because I think most problems have more than two sides, but you're researching multiple sides of the issue. All right. Then the third part is your image analysis. The image analysis is where you're going to tear apart all of the elements of the picture, every little thing you can find. And we're going to talk more about that today. But you're going to tear apart every little thing in the picture. You're going to tell me how these elements are conveying the idea, that the opinion that the image is trying to convey. And then you're going to use your research topic to your research that you just did to kind of prove that. So in other words, if we're doing something on global warming, and it's a photograph of a factory spewing smoke into the sky, then your research is going to be like, here's why this smoke going into the sky happens. Here's why it's more important that it does happen than it doesn't. The other side is going to be like, here's why pouring smoke into the sky is bad. Here's why it's wrong. Then you're going to use the image analysis and you're going to say, all right, let's tear all these little bits apart. And each of these little bits, all right, helps persuade us that putting poison into the sky is bad. So that's how it's going to work. And then, of course, you've got a conclusion at the end. Remember, I'm a firm believer in short, sweet conclusions. Don't go nuts in your conclusion. Your conclusion should basically be, here's what I just proved. Here's why I'm right. And here's how I proved it. And I'm out. All right, so here are the must-haves. The must-haves in the 8 to 10 visual analysis essay. Remember, it's MLA format only. All right. A visual for you to analyze that has a clear opinion about a topic of importance. All right. 1. Valid citation for the visual. You need to cite the visual. We're going to talk about that next week. Background information on multiple sides of the topic. This is where all of that research comes in. You won't really have research in the visual analysis part because that's all your kind of opinion of how you're tearing apart the image. But the research section should be every claim, every idea you make should be based upon evidence from a source. Analysis of the rhetorical techniques of the image, and explanation of how the rhetorical techniques prove the opinion of the image. All right, so let's just to give you a few ideas, right? Some people talk about political cartoons. Here's a recent political cartoon talking about how both sides of the political divide are angry at pollsters. The polls were once again kind of not exactly wrong, but they weren't as right as they could have been, and so both sides are kind of very angry at pollsters, want to destroy pollsters. So I'm going to analyze this image. So if I'm writing a whole paper, the first thing I would do is just analyze what's good about pollsters and what's bad about pollsters. I would research it. I would make claims that I connect to with evidence about why pollsters are good, what they're doing, why pollsters are bad, and why they're bad. Right? And then I would say, all right, so coming to this picture, there's lots of stuff. I mean, obviously, pollsters are depicted as kind of an evil witch, ugly. We could see here that the fact that it's a donkey and an elephant means that both sides of the political divide are angry at the pollsters, so angry that they want to burn her at the stake. So there are just lots of things going on here that we can talk about. Remember, if your research section is 3 to 4 pages, then your analysis of the image is 3 to 4 pages. And like I said, we're talking a lot about how to analyze an image today. So there's a lot to talk about. I don't want you to panic about that. So some people use political cartoons. Some people use advertisements. This advertisement is essentially trying to say that Kit Kats will restore your energy. All right. And so it does that by we analyze the colors, we analyze the packaging, we analyze the words here, et cetera, et cetera. Some people find analyzing advertisements easier because they are so clear in what they're trying to persuade the audience of. But they can also be kind of simplistic because ads are meant to be read quickly. So you got to kind of make a decision on, okay, this is an easy opinion to find, but is there enough for me to talk about in 3 to 4 pages? Photographs are great. All photographs are persuading, just like everything else, right? This is, to me, this image persuades me that the work safety laws were horrible in the past. And so I'm going to talk about how, the image, how this image works, what I think is, and every little thing that I think I find in the image that shows that worker safety laws were dangerous, right, or were lax, needed to be upped. All right. I can talk about how high they are. I can talk about the fact that there are no harnesses. I can talk about the fact that they're all just kind of going about their normal life, laughing in a very dangerous situation, a very precarious situation. So, this guy's drinking alcohol. That's not good. So, also fine art. All fine art is conveying an opinion. All right. This is Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. There are many interpretations. Most interpretations are valid. All right. But for me, all right, this shows that the beauty of nighttime comes from the kind of chaotic energy of the world, of our emotions. And so I'm gonna write about how chaos can be beautiful. And then I might research chaos and what that means and why it's good, and chaos and what that means and why it's bad, and then come back to analyzing this image about chaos. But remember, so I just don't want it to. The reason I bring up all these things is I don't want you to limit yourself in terms of the image you select, because again, all images are really trying to convey an idea. All right, so you're probably asking yourself at this point, how the hell do I analyze a visual? All right. Well, that's what we're going to talk about for the rest of this video. It's pretty simple. This is what you would spend an entire semester on if you were in an art history class or an art appreciation class. We're not in an art appreciation class right now, but so I'm going to go much faster and give you, but I'm going to give you enough that you can kind of think about things. So the elements of art, things you can talk about. One is shape. Now remember, these techniques are just like the kind of close reading techniques we talked about at the beginning of the year with metaphor, simile, figurative language, imagery, diction, detail, syntax. Shape is like the metaphor of art. So basically, what you would do is you would say, look at the shape, all right? And this shape conveys to me this opinion. And explain why it does. Again, it's interpretive, which means that as long as it makes some sort of logical sense, it works. All right. Here is a Beast of the Sea by Henry Matisse. Look at how dependent it is on shapes. Right. We're kind of obviously under the water. There's some fish things, but you've also got these blocks of different color. You've got these collages. You've got these shapes that cut and intersect between the boxes. You've got these coral reefs down at the bottom. All right, so there's lots of stuff going on about image. All right, so if I were writing a paper on this, I might say something like, this image works to show how mysterious and how little we understand about the world underwater. And then I might come back and say, look, all of these shapes are unnatural shapes because we don't know what it looks like there. All right. This reef, all right, this reef here, or this, reef here, the shapes of these are abstract because they are trying to convey an idea that we don't have in the world, all right, or that we don't have because we can't actually see it. So shape. And again, any shape is anything that's defined by edges, all right? So you've got an edge, the edge connects, all right, boom, and there makes a shape. Value. Value is the difference between light and dark. All right. So this is The Incredulity of St. Thomas by Caravaggio. He's considered the kind of master of value. All right. As you can see from this painting, there's a light that's kind of shining off on this side, close to Jesus, i.e., kind of recognizing his divinity. Jesus is in between the light of salvation that's off painting, and the doubting Thomas and the other disciples on this side who are kind of buried in the dark. All right. So I could talk about what it means symbolically, that it's light on this side on Jesus. It is dark over here with the disciples, what that means. So darkness and lightness. These things are opinions. These things make opinions in the audience, and that's what we're trying to analyze. Line, kind of connected with shape, all right? But line is the use of various marks, outlines, and implied lines. Line has width, length, and direction. It can have color. There are lots of things that lines can do. And how you kind of talk about the line kind of shows the emotional impact that line has. I mean, look at this line. This looks like a snake to me. This green one that pops out. I mean, the colors pop out from everything else around it. The line is big and bold, and it's got smaller, big, bold lines of green in it. All right. So this makes me, all right, think of a snake. All right. And then the rest of it looks like a skull. So it's like a snake weaving in through a skull. All right. And all of that is defined by line. All right. So again, you could talk about shape, you could talk about value, you could talk about line, and you can especially talk about color. All right. Color is one of the big ones. Color can be broken down into three properties. Hue, which is the basic name of the color, red, blue, green. All right. Intensity, is it like a bright green or like a subtle green, like a soft green? That's intensity. And then value, which is again how light and how dark something is. So I could look at this. These are two paintings by Manet. Rouen Cathedral West Facade, and then Rouen Cathedral West Facade at sunlight. He was painting these specifically to see the difference in color when the sun was hitting it directly and when it wasn't. And we can see, that the cathedral looks kind of sad and mournful when the sun is not hitting it directly, but when the sun is hitting it directly, it looks majestic, beautiful, luminous. So we could make an argument with this image here that that light, all right, or the sun, all right, brings clarity and happiness, or something like that, right? And finally, space, all right. How people are arranged, how objects are arranged, right? This is School of Athens by Raphael. This is really famous because this is one of the first paintings that was really trying to explore aspect ratios and vanishing points, all right? You can see on the grid here, so there's this idea in art where when you look off into the horizon, everything kind of moves towards one point, right? And if you can mimic that in art, then it kind of mimics a three-dimensionality. Raphael was one of the first people that was really trying to do that. So as you can see, you've got, bigger people in the foreground, right? These look bigger. Smaller people in the background, right? That's to kind of try and show that you're closer to these people than you are to these people, right? The same thing with the kind of sky back here, right? The sky's far, far away. This is much closer, all right? So you've got foreground, midground, and background. These are terms used in space. You've got, vanishing points to give the illusion of three-dimensionality. So lots of stuff. And in addition to that, there's also, there are lots of things that you could, all of these are famous philosophers, right? So a little research about the painting, and you could say, oh, okay, that's who this philosopher is. Like this is, Socrates. So we say, all right, Socrates is given the kind of prime spot here. He's right in the middle of everyone. He is openly visible. So you might say that one of the things that this is doing is showing that Socrates is most important. But remember, your image could easily have text. Anything that you analyze with text works. So, if it says something like, Kit Kat bars are incredible, you could analyze a diction of incredible. You could analyze the allusion, the metaphors happening in the text on the image. So don't feel like it's just just space and value and line and shape that you're and color that you're analyzing. You're analyzing every aspect of the picture, right? So another one is texture. That's used to describe the way a three-dimensional object feels, or the visual feel, which means how a two-dimensional art piece looks like it feels, right? This is Fanny Finger Painting by Chuck Close. He draws hyper-realistic art in pencil, and as you can see, texture is the texture of her skin in contrast to the texture of her blouse in contrast to the texture of her hair. There's just a lot of things to talk about there with texture. So that's just another idea. All right. So quick art history lesson here real quick. There are three, really basic phases of art. And all three of these phases pop up in any kind of visual image, from political imagery to advertisements to fine art. So, for most of history, art was trying to replicate realism in some way, shape, or form. In other words, they were desperately trying to make something look as close to reality as possible. All right, but with the invention of photography in the late 1800s, a camera can do that way better than any person. Art had to figure out what to do next. Art started to become what's called Impressionism. Right? Impressionism is the idea of drawing not what something looks like, but how it feels to look at it. Monet is one of the great impressionists. This is him drawing a harbor at sunrise. And again, he's not trying to show you exactly what it looks like when you sit there and look out at the harbor. He's trying to show how it feels to look there. And so he's got colors, he's got, cloudy images, fuzzy images, out of focus things. So again, Impressionism is all about kind of taking a realistic situation or setting or object and trying to depict it in a way that makes us feel what it's like to look at it rather than just look at it. Next, we kind of went all the way to Expressionism. We eschewed realistic depiction of anything at all, and we just started painting what we felt. Right? This is On White 2 by Wassily Kandinsky. Kandinsky was one of the great expressionists, and as you can see, there's nothing really realistic about this image, but it's still using color and shape and line and texture to kind of persuade us of things, convey us of things. So these are just three ideas that you could use in your paper. Like, in other words, this advertisement uses Impressionism, this fine art is using Expressionism, something like that. So I want you to be prepared for the fact that in coming weeks, class is going to become like a writing retreat. And what that means is you're going to come down, and I'm not going to lecture or do anything. You're going to sit and write so that you can write and have me there to ask questions. That's going to be not this week. This week I've got stuff to do. But I want to try and remind you that sitting down and writing with people around you that you can ask for help, with me around you that can ask for help, is a very positive and powerful thing. So I don't want you to feel like it's not worthwhile to come and write in class. Writing in class helps you get stuff done. It helps you talk to me quickly so I know what's going on, etc., etc. So I hope you're having a great week. And like I said, I am so sorry for being behind, but I'll get caught up pretty quick. I'll talk to you later.